What's going on, Philly fans, Philly sports fans? It's your boy SalG, and I finally got my own show. That's right, premiering here on It's a Rap Network, the first of many. Hopefully, it's the Wraparound. And it took me. I was really racking my brain coming up with a name for a show on It's a Rap Network. And, it took weeks, but I came up with the wraparound. Yeah, I came up with that real quick. So, special shout out. Well, we'll say, who would be crazy enough to give me my own show? I can't tell you, but his name rhymes with Batty Me. That's right. So, yes, thank you for joining us today. Premiering tonight, the first wraparound show on It's a Rap Network. Please make sure you throw up a like for your boy, share, subscribe to It's a Rap Network somewhere. There we go. I'm pointing at it there. Follow the banner there. I can do it. Give us a follow. Really appreciate it. Get this great content out to you. I'm happy to be doing the show. Happy for Maddie B to be giving me this opportunity here. So, yeah, let's see how I can mess it up. All right, guys. So there's a lot to talk about in Philly sports this week. A lot going on. A lot of dramatics with athletes, current and former athletes in Philadelphia sports. A lot of talk about the Eagles. Are they really doing well right now? Are they going to fool us like they did last year with that 10-1 start? And then everybody's Viagra prescription just expires and nobody gets refills and they just tank. Are we going to see that again this year with the Eagles? 76ers, what's the deal with them? Are they a good team? I mean, they're not obviously a good team without Paul George and Joel Embiid. And we got stuff to talk about there with Embiid too, but 76ers looking lost. Do not look like playoff contenders. Paul George is supposed to be back tonight. Maybe Joel Embiid will follow soon, but he may be getting suspended first. So tune in to this show to hear more about that. The Flyers, well, they're not very good. They're not really good. Hashtag horrible for Higgins. And as the season progresses, and if the Flyers gets worse, perhaps it's hashtag horrendous for Higgins. And if you could come up with an H word that's even worse than that, throw it at me because I need to know what it is. In the Phillies, we could talk about them even though their season ended. They're bringing back Rob Thompson and the coaching crew. But are they going to make any changes? Because if they're just going to run it back with the squad they had, I don't know. I think we're going to be looking at some disappointment there, Phillies fans. All right, so let's get into it. But before we get into it, it's daylight savings time. All right, that happened yesterday. Can we please just end daylight savings time? It no longer serves a purpose since the advent of electricity. We don't need daylight savings time. I don't know anyone that says, hey, what's awesome? It's awesome when it gets dark at 4 p.m. No one says that. Nobody says that. We don't need daylight savings time anymore. It was put in place a long time ago for farmers, people without electricity who had to work outside without light. Now we have artificial light, and everybody pretty much has it here in the United States. So can we just talk about this? Been talk about ending daylight savings time for years. Can we just get rid of it? So next year, when spring forward comes and you put the clocks back an hour ahead, let that be the end of it. Just let it die. We don't need it anymore. I don't know who's making money off daylight savings time. I think it's stupid. It needs to end. All right. That being said, let's get into some Eagles. Let's talk about the Eagles here, the Birds. And yeah, you see me. I got my Jason Kelsey shirt on, 2017, the championship, the Mummers outfit. It was the speech during the championship, the parade at the art museum. That was Jason Kelsey, the heart and soul of that Eagles team that helped lead the Eagles, and former coach Doug Peterson, who was our coach at the time, to a Super Bowl. And we had Nick Foles, not Carson Wentz, not Charmin soft Carson Wentz. We had Nick Foles leading us to a Super Bowl. That was a magical year. Will be with me for the rest of my life. That was the first, obviously, it's the first Eagles championship ever, but it was the first one. Well, you got the pre-Super Bowl era, like 1916, the 40s and all that. But for me, the Super Bowl, me being alive, that was the first I saw. Thought we were going to get many more after that. That was 7 years ago. Um, it'll be 8 years, right? It'll be 2025 until the next Super Bowl that the Eagles possibly have a chance to play in. But at the moment, they are 6-2. They are 6-2 and have been undefeated coming out of the bye week. Out of the bye week, 4 weeks. That's 4 straight weeks since the bye. Win against Cleveland, win against the Giants, win against Cincinnati at Cincinnati, and then beating Jacksonville at home. Now, yes, 3 out of these 4 matchups, the opponent is not so good. Cincinnati, probably not making the playoffs this year, but they have a pretty good offense, and we put a whooping to them last week. This week with Jacksonville, we let the game be closer than we needed to be. There was 9 points on the field that Sirianni didn't want to take for one reason or the other. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's playing chess against himself. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. He doesn't want to take points. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, they went for 3 2-point conversions yesterday and didn't get them. One of them they might have got. They might have got, but they didn't. Officials ruled they did not. So that's 3. You could have had 3 extra points there. And then there was 2 opportunities where the Eagles went for it on 4th down. 4 in the second quarter is 4:55 in the second. 4th and 3 from the Jaguars 22. Sirianni could have kicked a 40-yard field goal with Jake Elliott. He says no. And they went for it and then failed to convert. That was the pass to A.J. Brown, I believe. And if A.J. Brown had a step on the Jacksonville defender, Hurts could not get the ball far out enough for Brown. The defender ended up making a play on the ball, and then that was that. And then you had in the third quarter, you had 1:25, 4th and 1 from the Jaguars, 25. Sirianni could have had a 43-yard field goal by Jake Elliott, but they would have been and the Eagles would have been up 2 scores at that point, but they didn't want to do it. He throws the ball, fails to convert. They didn't even attempt the tush push, which you would think 4th and 1, that's an automatic, right? But it did fail. So our team's on to the tush push. And you saw variations of the tush push, that formation. They got into it and then they started going into motion, doing different things. Hurts went off tackle or off guard on a run. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, those 9 points might not mean anything in this game against Jacksonville, but they almost beat you. And that would have been disastrous. They would have beat you. But a team like Detroit, a team like San Francisco, a team like Baltimore, who we are playing in a few weeks, those 9 points mean everything. And that's the matter of a win or a loss. Whether you win by 30, whether you win by 1, a win is a win in the NFL. I understand that, but just have some easy points there you could take. I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on that. I just find that a little crazy. I just find that a little wild there. Are the Eagles winning in spite of Sirianni's mistakes? I mean, he is a good coach, and there's evidence to show that he is. I mean, Sirianni has a 678 win percentage, trails only Matt LaFleur amongst active head coaches. Eagles are 40-19 since the start of 2021, Sirianni's first season, trailing only the Chiefs and the Bills for the best win percentage in the NFL. It's pretty good company there. I don't know what to make of that. Sirianni is obviously a good coach. He is. The Eagles are 6-2 after 8 games, a half game out of the NFC East lead, and they're easily in the playoff picture. You got Washington right now, who has the lead in the NFC East, believe it or not, with that uber rookie Jaden Daniels. But the Eagles have been 6-2 or better for 3 consecutive seasons. The first time that has happened is 79 to 81. So there has to be some credit given to Sirianni. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. Is it because the Eagles went 10-1 last year, and then everything Sirianni does is micromanaged, it's scrutinized, it's put under a microscope, And but some of those decisions yesterday were head scratching. I know I wasn't the only one. It's crazy. I mean, what's everybody think about that? I'm just curious. I'm curious there. And talking about the Eagles, they won 4 straight. That's coming right out the bye. They won 5 of their last 6 games. In the game yesterday, Saquon Barkley had a game for the ages. The ages. Penn State in the house, baby. Also had one of the coolest plays of the year. And the no look reverse butt hurdle, look it up. It's crazy. It's crazy. And he says he's done that. He actually did that play before, that move before. I don't know who jumps backwards with his butt out, full hurdle, legs up, goes over the guy that's like pretty much upright. He was able to do that. But Barkley, he had a game. 27 rushing attempts, 159 yards on the ground, 1 rushing touchdown. And then he did it through the air. Not only did he do it by land, by land, he did it by air. 3 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Beautiful over-the-shoulder catch in the end zone. 20-yard touchdown catch for Barkley. Awesome game by him. That puts him at 199 all-purpose yards, receiving and rushing for the day. Not a bad game for you there, Saquon. Pretty darn good. And Jalen Hurts, he had himself a nice game too. He went 18 for 24, 230 yards, 230 touchdowns would be a record. 2 touchdowns thrown. And then he also did it by land as well. 13 rush attempts for 67 yards and a rush touchdown. Nice to see that by Jalen. Great game by the Eagles offense. Put up 447 yards to Jacksonville's 215. On the ground, Eagles had 237 rushing yards. The Jags had only 60. Now, the Eagles won this battle, but hopefully they still win the war, and the war being the season. You had A.J. Brown leaving the game, didn't come back with a knee injury, but the latest report says he should be ready for next week's matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. Devontae Smith, a.k.a. the Slim Reaper, did his best A.J. Brown impersonation in this game, filling in for the number 1 receiver role with Brown out for the game. He had himself a hell of a day. 4 for 87 and a touchdown, but he helped the Birds out big when Brown went out of the game on a YOLO ball that Jalen Hurts had thrown. It was a 47-yard reception. Awesome play down the sideline. I don't know where I have it here. I had it somewhere. Yeah, it was a 46-yard pass to Slim Reaper. YOLO ball by Hurts. That was in the 4th quarter. And then on that same drive, Devontae Smith had a one-handed catch, 2 feet dragging, 25-yard touchdown pass. Put the Eagles up 28-16. With that score, obviously, if we didn't have that score, we'd be in a lot more trouble, because then Jacksonville came right back to score another touchdown to make it a 28-23 game. Fortunately, that's where it ended. But, and also credit for the defense, Nakobe Dean, Zach Bond, these linebackers are playing phenomenal under Vic Fangio. Everything seems to have changed after the bye. And there were reports from Brian Baldinger, and Brian Baldinger is as close to the NFL and to the Eagles as anybody, said that some players had a talk with Sirianni and said, hey, Nick, some of the stuff we're doing on offense, or defense, whatever, just some of the stuff we're doing in game is not working. And I'm going to say credit to Nick because he must have listened to the players. They must have, he got with the coaches, got with the players, came up with some schemes, came up with some plans. But ever since the bye week, they're steamrolling people. And yes, you could say the competition stinks, right? But they're beating who they have in front of them. This game with the Jaguars, like I said, they left 9 points on the table. It should have been a 37, as far as I'm concerned, 37-23 game, right? It would have been a lot more of a blowout than what you see here. It shouldn't have been that close. I blame Nick for that, but luckily, Nakobe Dean seals the game with the pick in the end zone, covering the Ernest Johnson, the running back for the Jags, who went out for the end zone for a pass. All right, Dougie P. I mean, you're my boy, man. I'll never forget that Super Bowl, but I don't know what that play was. But the Eagles did what they were supposed to do. They put a whooping. So Sirianni, is he good? Yes, he's a good coach. Is he great? I don't know. If he keeps doing head scratching stuff like this, I don't know. He needs to win a Super Bowl. I know all the guy has done is win. So I can't say, get this guy out of here. But some of the stuff, head scratching. Next week for the Eagles, they get to play the Dallas Cowboys, and we might be catching a break there because we generally have a tough time in Dallas. But you're not going to have Dak Prescott playing for the Cowboys. He is going to be out for at least a few weeks with a hamstring injury, and that is a crucial loss for the Cowboys, who are fighting to stay alive for the playoffs. Their season looked like it's going to end. Mike McCarthy's job could be on the line, the coach of the Cowboys there. CeeDee Lamb also has an AC joint sprain. He's day to day, but if Prescott's not playing, I don't know, maybe they rest him, because I don't see how the Cowboys can beat the Eagles. I mean, any given Sunday, anything can happen. I get it. Wouldn't it be fitting if the Eagles go to Dallas next week? No Dak Prescott, no CeeDee Lamb, still lose the game? Even Ezekiel, I mean, there's turmoil in Dallas. Ezekiel Elliott did not play this past week for disciplinary reasons. I don't know what happened. Whether he got in an argument with coaches. I don't know what the deal was, but supposedly he will play this coming week. I guess they're going to need him. But I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, you have a CeeDee Lamb, not 100%. No Dak Prescott. Zeke Elliott, whatever's going on with him. Mike McCarthy, he's not having a great year, and he's been on the bubble, and there's talk about him being on the bubble for his job for a couple years now. We know how Jerry Jones is. He's impulsive. He has his hands into the team. He's the GM. He's going to make a move if he wants to. Now, he might wait till after this Eagles game, because I don't think he wants to do it now. But if the Eagles go to Dallas and smoke those Cowboys, who them boys, whew, you might see heads rolling. You might see it. You might see it happen. So, in other football news, we have the NFL trade deadline. That is going to be tomorrow. Are the Eagles going to get anyone? Is that a possibility? There was talk about potentially bringing in Cleveland Browns edge rusher Zadarius Smith, and we know how the Eagles love their edge rushers. That's kind of been a weak spot for the Eagles this year. It's just getting a lot of pressure to the quarterback, getting sacks. Now that's increased in the past few weeks, but Zadarius Smith could be a possibility. However, most likely, though, he is going to go to Detroit per the latest report I saw. He's going to replace Aiden Hutchinson. Detroit's all in. They're trying to win a Super Bowl, but we are too. So it's worth kicking the tires on, at least. I don't know if there's anybody else that the Eagles are willing to get, or you never know with Howie Roseman. He's a wheel and deal type of guy. He's a magician with those draft picks. Some of his other moves, but they could use a solid edge rusher. We know who's not working. It's Bryce Huff, and Bryce Huff played 6 snaps in yesterday's game. So, and now I'm hearing talk. There's a possibility that the Eagles move him. They bite the cap hit. Like they did with Carson Wentz when they cut him. They moved Bryce Huff. Now, I don't know what you're going to move him for, but apparently, because of the way the deal's structured, all his guaranteed money was already given up front. Whoever gets Huff would get him for, this season and next year. So maybe some team's interested, maybe based on what he did, maybe he needs to change the scenery, but we're not using Huff. I mean, he played 6 snaps. Is he hurt? I didn't hear that he was. Uh, I did hear that Sirianni said something about pregame stuff, but they didn't mention injury. So it's kind of weird to hear. Checking out the comments. Barbara saying, OMG, that's next week. I think you're early to the party here, Barbara. Matty B, what's up? Matt LaFleur, isn't that the head coach of Average Joe's? I think he's a pretty darn good coach, man. I like Matt LaFleur. I mean, he's cool. Uh, he's cool. I mean, Jordan Love's. I'm impressed with Green Bay. I mean, you go from quarterback Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. I mean, has there ever been a 3 QB succession like that where you got like three? I mean, you got back-to-back Hall of Famers in Favre and Rodgers, and Love's still young here, and the book's still out on him, but he looks like he's a pretty darn good player. So I think some of that credit needs to go to the coaching staff and Matt LaFleur. Yoshi, my boy Yoshi, what's going on, brother? He says Sirianni has to go. He's in the camp that says get rid of Sirianni, get rid of Nick. I don't know. I don't know what Nick's thing is. He's got this. He fights the Eagles fans at home. He barks at him. He chirps at them. He's got swag. But I don't know, some of that aggression, some of that attitude, I think he's got to channel that a little a little bit differently. And he throws out there. Yoshi also says Huff blows. And I don't think anybody will disagree with you there, Yoshi, on that. Time to get rid of him. Get rid of Huff and Sirianni package deal. But if you get rid of Nick, I don't know who's going to coach. Vic Fangio, he had that job before, right? He coached the Broncos. I believe he had a head coaching job. I don't think he wants to do that again. I don't think Kellen Moore's the guy. I don't know who you're going to bring in next. I guess we just ride it out with Nick this year. See what happens. See what happens with him. But before I end the football talk here, I got to get into what happened with Jason Kelsey. And I'm going to go on a rant here a little bit. So Jason Kelsey, the man you see on this shirt, rocking the Mummers gear. This is from the Eagles championship parade. Ever since he retired, he's all over the place. He's all over the place. It's overexposure of Jason Kelsey, and I love Jason Kelsey. And it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. He's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. I mean, there's so much overexposure of Kelsey. He's going on this tour peddling mediocre goods to everywhere, nationwide. It's got to stop. It's getting tiring, and we'll talk about I'm talking about the issue this past weekend in Happy Valley, where a frat boy was behind Jason, and he was filming him, and he was talking trash about his brother, and what he said about his brother was not cool at all. And what Jason's response was, I think everybody sticking up for their brother and dealing with some frat boy in Penn State is going to do. Kelsey takes the phone from the frat boy and slams it on the ground, and he said some expletives and choice words back to the kid. All right. But remember now, Jason Kelsey is playing frat boy himself. This is a 36-year-old man running through crowds, running through a bunch of college kids with cases of beer in his arms. Cases of beer, the beer company that he owns, it's okay beer. It's nothing special. It's mediocre. All right. He's peddling his wares to the people of Happy Valley. But, you know, Jason, you're doing this frat boy stuff too, bro. You know, listen, you're about to be 40 years old. I know you're a little younger than me, but man, if I got my shirt off, drinking beer, smashing through tables, screaming, "Ah!" Looking like the Charmin bears, in the commercial where they're looking for a tree to wipe their ass on. You know what I'm talking about, those bears. That's Jason Kelsey when he's got his shirt off. "Ah, look at me. I'm drinking beer, alcohol." Bro, you're 40, you're 40 years old. Relax, dude. All right. Ease up. But you're chilling with these frat boys, you're walking through town, you got your beer with you that you're selling, you know, and you're trying to, I don't know, you're making money, dude, and I don't hate that you're making money, because if it were me and anybody else that's listening, they're gonna want to do the same thing, and you're trying to make all that loot you can, and you and your brother, you got that podcast, and you just got yourself a 3-year, $100 million extension on the podcast. You're already rich from football. You're rich from the podcast. You got your hands in everything. All right. You're selling your crappy wings. You're selling crappy soup. You're selling your mediocre beer. You're selling bad hoagies. You're selling sugary cereal to children. All right. None of this crap is probably crap you or your brother are taking yourself, or would you give to any of your family members? Cereal with no nutritional value. But I'm not hating on that. I get it. You're making your money, but bro, you're all over the place. All right. You're doing this frat boy stuff. You're 40 years old, ripping your shirt off, you're breakdancing, rocking your Fila jumpsuit. I don't know what's going on, dude. I like you. I like you a lot. I think you're the man. But I think it's getting a little tiring. And this whole, this nationwide tour. I don't know what you're touring, man. To me, it's just like you're walking around just peddling your wares, man. Whatever. You're going to owe that kid a phone, and screw that kid, doing that stuff. He deserves it. He's lucky he didn't get punched in the mouth. Now, if you would have punched him in the mouth, you would have paid for his college tuition. You probably would have bought him a Ferrari. You would have did all that stuff. All right. But I think it's time that you stop, mingling with the people. Get yourself some bodyguards if you're trying to do this stuff. I think you're a good dude. Your family's cool. Your wife's cool. But, it's just a little too much there, bro. A little too much. Yoshi saying zero excitement walking out of that stadium yesterday after the game. I guess talking about yourself. Yeah, I know you got those season tickets, brother. Kelsey could do no wrong. I love Kelsey. I love him. It's a little much, man. Dude's everywhere. The dude's everywhere. I would promote on the tampon commercial for millions of dollars. I would too. I would too. But you know what? If you saw me everywhere, you would get sick of me. That's why I'm only on this show once a week. If I was on every day, Maddie B said, "Sal, there's no way I'm putting you on the show every day because people are going to get sick of you." I'm only kidding about that part. But yeah, if you saw me every day and on every commercial, selling everything, blah blah blah, the wings, the beer, the sugary cereal snacks, you're going to probably just tell me to ease up a bit too. There you go. Thanks, Yoshi. I appreciate it. A little sick of him seeing everywhere too. And it's not even his. I should be more sick of his brother Travis, but I'm not, because I feel like right now I feel like I see Jason, everywhere, because Travis still playing football. He's still playing for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got Taylor Swift coming to see him, and I got no problem with that. But the guy, that clown that said something to Jason Kelsey, he's a fool. He's an idiot. He's glad. He should be glad all he got was his phone broken. But, the time for ripping your shirt off, jumping through tables, shotgun and beers might be over, bro. And you get bodyguard or two. I know you're a big guy and you can handle it all. But you remember the Karen in Margate, too? You had that lady in Margate that was yelling at Kylie Kelsey, giving her a bunch of crap. You're going to have your ambulance chase. When you got money, man, you're a target. You're going to have your ambulance chasers. You're going to have people coming at you, trying to provoke you, trying to want you to hit them so you could pay them millions of dollars. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. But when you put yourself out there as much as you got to expect that smoke, you know, you got to expect that smoke, Jason, whether it's wrong or right. All right. Let me see here. Now we're going to go ahead and let's transition into the Sixers a bit. So out of all the four major sports, I know I'm going to be honest. I follow the Sixers the least. My basketball knowledge was back in the day in the '90s. Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson. I love the Houston Rockets. Hakeem Olajuwon was one of my favorite players of all time. I played NBA Live '95 for Sega Genesis. I was an NBA Jam guy all the way. Clyde Drexler. That was my favorite. Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter. I used to love being the Portland Trailblazers on NBA Jam because Clyde the Glide was one of my favorite players of all time too. But you don't need to know that much of the Sixers to know that without Joel Embiid, without Paul George, they're a problem. They're 1-4. They're uh, second to last in the East, 14th place, 1-4, 1-4. So, fortunately, some good news. Paul George is supposed to play tonight against the Phoenix Suns. We'll see. I guess anything can happen between now and tip-off, but let's hope he plays. Embiid is not going to play yet, and he may get suspended before he plays. We'll be getting to that in a second here, but you have Tyrese Maxey, and Tyrese Maxey is awesome, but the guy can't do it all. Um, you have your backups being forced to play with Embiid out, with George out. They're playing out of position. They're not playing to their strengths. They can't hit threes. Your best 3-point shooter is Paul George. You need him to be healthy. He is 34 years old. Signed to a lot of money. That's not young. That's not young. It's young in real life, but in basketball life, these big men and knees, whew, it's a problem, guys. I mean, we know that's the problem for a lot of NBA players. It's just the knees. They're so big, so tall, and it just those knee injuries. Unfortunately, that's what you're going to see. And as you get older, it gets worse. And you have Joel Embiid now talking about he can't play back-to-back games. Now, I don't understand that part. Somebody might have to explain that knows a little bit more about basketball than I do. But why can't he play a back-to-back game? I understand he can't play a full 48 minutes. He's not going to do that. But can he play half? Can he play 24? Why can't he play 12 in a back-to-back? I don't know. I don't get that. And then you have this whole thing, which is weird in the NBA. And I don't really understand this because I haven't heard this talked about in any other sport, any of the four majors. But the Sixers were fined $100,000 because of not, the injury stuff and not being clear on the injury. Now, the Sixers didn't lie about anything; they just weren't clear, and perhaps it's because they don't have a clear timetable of Embiid, and maybe they don't know what's going on. And people are going to say, "Well, he played in the Olympics and all that in the preseason, and why all of a sudden is he not playing?" And you know, the NBA has this weird thing where it's like superstar players can't be can't be out for load management purposes. They have to be injured to be out on specially televised games, your TNT primetime games, your Christmas games, a certain game. I never heard of this. Like, if every sport did that, you know how many baseball games I went to where you're expecting to see the stud players. Sometimes guys just get the day off and you're like, oh shoot, you paid your money. But why is that an issue in the NBA? I don't really understand. Like, I don't get it. Why can't teams do perform load management with players? I mean, if you're trying to get a player healthy so he can be available to you in the postseason, don't you want to limit his minutes? Don't you want to limit his games? Why isn't that? It's so stupid that if the Sixers are playing Christmas and Joel Embiid isn't technically on IR or designated hurt, that he has to play. It's so weird. Maybe I'm not understanding that right, but that's what I read about it. I think that's really crazy, and I don't know. Does that hurt the NBA with rules like that? I think it's silly. I think it's a stupid thing. Uh, I don't get it. And then there's talk about criticism toward Embiid about saying he doesn't want to play and he's sitting out purposely. He just got an extension, so why would he want to sit out? I don't understand why he would be doing that. Why would he want to sit out purposely? If he's hurt, he's hurt. I mean, I don't see why. You know, I know you have half the fans in Philadelphia probably hate Embiid, and the other half love him. I love the guy. I don't think he's soft by any means. I don't think getting two broken orbital bone injuries, two separate occasions, is soft. I think that's bad luck. Crap happens. It sucks, but I don't think that's softness. Knee injuries, like I don't think that's softness either. I don't think that's soft. Now is he a Philly type of player? Does he have that Philadelphia mentality? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not. The whole thing, what over the years with Embiid was, and the growth of the Sixers was trust the process. Well, the process stinks. The process didn't work. It blew up, right? Sixers never won multiple championships. They never won one. And now you got an aging Embiid. And yeah, you just signed an extension, but you're bringing in a Paul George, who should help tremendously compared to last year, right? With what the Sixers had. And you have Maxey, who's becoming a superstar in his own right. But maybe Embiid is just not cut out to play here. And I'll be getting more into that in a second here. Embiid, like I said, Embiid said he would not play in back-to-back games ever again. Maybe he shouldn't have came out publicly and said that. Maybe he should let Nick Nurse, the coaching staff, talk about that. I don't know. But I think it's unfair to say he doesn't want to play. He's purposely sitting out. He's soft. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's what it is. I just think, unfortunately, when Embiid plays, he's one of the best players out there, one of the best big men. I mean, that's factual. But I just think he's got too many injuries over the years, and the knee injury as he ages is only going to get worse. And I think we've seen the best of Embiid. I don't think it's going to get better. I don't think his knee is going to get better. So you just hope that you have him for the playoffs when you make a run. There's no good now him playing on these primetime games, a night game on a random night in November, December, so you don't get fined. That's so stupid. It doesn't make any sense to me. But getting into it now, I'm sorry, before I get into the possible Embiid suspension. So as the team currently stands, I don't see them winning a championship. But maybe come trade deadline, they do something. And maybe they get a player like, and I heard a Bogdanovich, and it totally sounds like a made-up name, but I looked it up. He is a real player. Maybe that would help the Sixers out. You got to think maybe the Sixers would bring in a piece or two during the deadline if they're making that run to try and do it, because I think it's now or never. The Sixers are going to move into that stadium in Chinatown that nobody wants. Nobody wants to go there. Nobody wants to sit in traffic for hours. Nobody wants to do any of that crap, but they're going to do it. So I don't know if it's a problem with the Sixers. I don't know if it's a problem with the NBA, but I don't like some of these things that the Sixers are doing. I don't like this stupid thing with star players having to play or you get fined and, being available for a primetime game. That's stupid. Anyway, I'm going into the Marcus Hayes, Joel Embiid incident. So the other day, Joel Embiid got into a physical altercation with Marcus Hayes. And if any of you guys don't know who Marcus Hayes is, just look up Marcus Hayes and you'll see his mustache. And that'll annoy you just looking at that. I don't think he has the mustache anymore. Thankfully, he doesn't, because his mustache alone had an arrogance about it. And if you know how Marcus Hayes is, he writes pieces, he comes at you. He does some things, and I do not agree with what Embiid did at all. He should not have pushed Marcus Hayes. You do not physically put your hands on anybody, ever, right? If you're an athlete. Because guess what? Marcus Hayes is probably going to sue you for a boatload of money now. And I guess it's well within his right to do so. But what Marcus Hayes did, and I didn't read the full article, but I will quote a part that he said. So Marcus Hayes' article says, Joel Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son Arthur as the major inflection point in his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother, the boy being Embiid's son, who he also named Arthur. Embiid's brother died in an automobile accident when Embiid was in his first year as a 76er. Hayes also says, well, in order to be great at your job, you have to first show up for work. Embiid has been great at just the opposite. Now in his 11th season, he has consistently been in poor condition. This poor conditioning apparently seems to have delayed his debut this season. Embiid won't play in Wednesday's opener as the next two games. So you go in for the throat. I don't think any reporter should ever talk about a player's family member, especially somebody that's passed away, or their child. You don't bring that stuff up. All right. But the way Philly journalism works, and this is what I was talking about, does Embiid have the Philly mentality? And I say he doesn't. It's not just Marcus Hayes that writes these articles. There's a lot of journalists in Philadelphia that, that bash players when they're not doing good or performing to their expectations. That comes with the territory with playing in the city. Now, Embiid's not playing for free. He's making hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So, being upset at Marcus Hayes for the personal comments is one thing, right? Putting your hands on him is another thing. But you're making a ton of money. And what Embiid said in response to either Marcus Hayes and or other critics is that people say this is Embiid, a quote from Embiid saying he doesn't want to play. I've done way too much for this city, putting myself at risk for people to be saying that. I do think it's bull bleep. I've done way too much for this effing city to be treated like this. Done way too effing much. But like I said, I was as lucky as other ones, but that doesn't mean I'm not trying and not doing whatever it takes to be out there. And he says he's going to be out there pretty soon. Now, I have a couple of issues with what Embiid's saying. He's saying he's done way too much for the city, putting himself at risk. I don't know what kind of risk he's putting himself at. If he's too hurt to play, he wouldn't be playing, right? Now I know the orbital bone, he played with a face mask and all that, but if there was, like let's just say he'd go blind or something like that, I don't think he'd be playing. He's saying he did too much for the city. It's not volunteer charity work here. You're getting paid millions of dollars. I get it. This if he's coming at Marcus Hayes with this response, I understand completely. But when you read it out of context, you can be like, "What do you mean you've done too much? You've done too much for this city. And people are going to say, what have you done? You haven't won anything. What have you won?" So that's what I mean with Embiid. And I don't know what everybody's thoughts are on that, but I don't I don't personally like Marcus Hayes. But a lot of Philly journalists, that's what they do in the city. They criticize, they write these articles, inflammatory. They get responses. The shock jocks. You got your sports talk radio. You got all that stuff. I mean, shoot, even me on here sometimes, I'm probably going to say stuff, right? But that's just the nature of the city, the sports, the fan base, and it's just the way the media is. And if you can't handle it, maybe this isn't the place for you. You know, Yoshi's saying Embiid is a joke. They're going to run Maxey into the ground. I know and they have so much money tied up on bums who can't stay healthy. I know, man, but what are you going to do? Maxey has to play, and unfortunately, it's going to fall on Maxey's shoulders a lot, especially if you're doing the load management stuff with Embiid. If Paul George is probably going to miss some games because he's 34 years old, he's missing them now with the knee, so it's going to fall on Maxey's shoulders. He's not going to score 48 points a game, and that's what he needed to do. For them to get the win against the Pacers, their only win of the year. They're not going to win many games if it's just Maxey. Paul George was brought in here to be the complement to Embiid, to take some of the pressure off Embiid. But man, Mitch, sorry, bro. What's up, Mitch? How you doing, brother? Yeah, that's right. He wants load management. Okay, he was overweight and out of shape in the Olympics, and if he was, then maybe he shouldn't have played there too in either. But saying I told my boss last week that I too would like to take off a few days a week because I'm mentally tired, but also want a 20% raise. That's what I said to my boss too. I know. I feel you. I feel you. That's the way it is, man. You're making the money, man. The smoke's gonna come. You know. Phil, what's up, brother? Philly Phil, what's good, brother? Good luck with the show. I appreciate it, Phil. Thanks a lot, man. Check out Phil, guys. Phil's doing great things too. On the daily, sports players should get paid like you and I every 2 weeks based on his performance. Do you think he would play then? Probably not. Probably not. But he did get that extension, so I don't know where people say he doesn't want to play. If he don't want to play, he can retire and just say, I want to go home or I don't feel like doing this no more. But I don't think that's the case. I don't. I hardly want to. I really never want to come out and say a player doesn't want to play because unless you're Anthony Rendon, who is a baseball player, and he actually came out and said, "I don't like playing baseball," which probably not a good thing to say, right, to your fan base after they shelled out 200 million to you. But it is what it is. Oh man, well, the Sixers play tonight against the Suns, and we got Paul George coming back, but I don't know if it's going to be a win. Suns are hot, 5-1. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but you never know. Maybe they get one here. That's a tough game, uh, for sure. All right, all right, all right, all right. Flyers. Let's get into the Flyers a little. Flyers talk here, guys. Yeah, this team isn't good. This team isn't good. I said it at the top of the show. Uh, let's get James Hagens up in here. And if you don't know who he is, James Hagens, American college ice hockey player for Boston College of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. Wikipedia. He's 18. He's 18 years old, man. Born in 2006. I can't even comprehend. 5'10, currently in Boston College. He's eligible for the 2025 draft. Plays center. We know that's a position of need for the Flyers. He weighs 168, but he'll put some meat on those bones as he ages. Man, we could get him. We could get him. We'll see how bad the Flyers are going to be. Um, the Flyers lost in a shutout to Boston Bruins the other night. Sam Ersson, who currently has been diagnosed with a body injury. Yes, you've heard that correctly, a body injury. So that's anywhere on your body. Usually the Flyers, they go upper or lower. It was a weird situation. Urson had a problem with his skate, or his skate broke, and maybe it did something to his lower leg, his foot, his knee. Who knows? Did something to his body. Had to come out in the first period. Alexei Koloslov came in. I'm going to end up saying Coleslaw because that's what I keep wanting to say when I say his name. Alexei Kolosov came in the game, played very well. Goaltending, a big issue for the Flyers. We don't know if Sam Ersson's going to be the guy. We don't know how long he's going to be out right now. It could be he's back in it tomorrow's game. It could be. Or it could be he's out for weeks. You never know. Risto Rasmussen or Risto Ristolainen was. They said he missed like 39 games last year. So with what they said was a minor injury, right? So you never know. They're going to play the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow in Carolina. I would like to see Kolosov back in there because it appears that Fedotov is not the guy. He just isn't. So you might as well see what you have from this other Russian, Kolosov, because he might want to go back home. If he's not playing, he's going to say, I got a good life back in Russia playing for the KHL. I'm going to head back there. He's 22. All right. Fedotov's 27. So just based on age alone, you figure Kolosov has more room to grow, appears to be the better talent. We'll see. It could be Fedotov gets to start tomorrow just to give Kolosov a break. But He played well enough in relief first, and yes, he let up 2 goals, but it's not his fault they lost because the Flyers put up 0 goals, and you can't win if you can't score a point. It's a big issue for the Flyers all year. They don't have enough shots on goal, and the shots on goal aren't quality. Only had 20 shots on goal the other night. So that's not. And yes, Corpusalo, who played for, in netminder for the Bruins, got the shutout. Was only 20 saves. And from what I've heard, I didn't see the game. It wasn't spectacular. He made a couple nice plays here and there, but the Flyers just can't get the puck on the net and can't. Not only can they not get it on the net, they just can't get anybody to just empty that trash. A big John LeClair type that just sits in the middle there and deflects and gets rebounds and does the dirty work. You don't have that with this team. So I don't know what you're going to do. I'm still excited for the future. Obviously, Flyers have a lot of draft picks going in to the draft. Maybe they can get Higgins if they're not one of the worst teams. If they're already not in that slot position or get that lottery pick, maybe they can trade for him. Trade up to get a player. A top player. If it's not going to be him, the next player. I don't know who the next best player is in the hockey draft, but somebody else. Let's see. The Flyers have 3 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks. A lot of picks. A lot of picks in the draft. So if they don't finish as the worst team, maybe they can use those picks either to get Higgins, somebody else. But there's a lot this team needs. And, we got Matvei Michkov, and he's been really fun to watch, but he has not been playing well himself so far. Maybe he's starting to feel it. I mean, he's 19 years old. There's a lot going on. He had a -3 in the other game, in the game against the Bruins. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Flyers. Obviously, I'm covering them, so I will be watching many of their games. I'm doing tomorrow's post game. Shout out to It's a Wrap Sports because I will be doing the Clear the Ice post game show tomorrow. So make sure you tune into that, Flyers fans. We'll watch it together. We'll go. Well, if it's a dumpster fire, we'll watch it together. And I'm not going to say I want them to lose. I'm not going to actively want them to lose. But if it happens, it's unintentional tanking, right? Unintentional. Not trying to, but if it happens, hey, get some players out of it. All right, and to close us off here, we're going to talk about the Flyers. I already did that. The Phillies. Talk about the Phillies here. So the Phillies coming off a lackluster, disappointing 2024 postseason. Okay. Have the Phillies peaked with this lineup? Because if they don't make any changes, I think we're going to be in some major trouble and we're going to have some major disappointment next season. You're bringing all the coaching staff back. Rob Thompson's coming back. All the coaching staff coming back. That includes hitting coach Kevin Long. Now, they gave Thompson a 2-year extension. So, what I see that could happen, it doesn't mean that Thompson couldn't get fired before then, but the first shoe to drop if this team fails, plays like crap, can't hit again, it's going to be Kevin Long. He's going to be showing the door. That's your sacrificial lamb right out the gate. But look at the Phillies the past 3 years. Okay? This past season, lost in the NLDS to the Mets. Last year, lost in the NLCS to the Diamondbacks. Year prior, lost the World Series to the Astros. So, I don't math, but looking at what I'm looking at so far, I mean, they just keep going backwards year after year. So do they even make the playoffs next year? I mean, if we're going off the trends here, it looks like a no. It looks like a no. I don't know. Or they get that wild card. They have to add some significant pieces to their team. They can't just go in with the same group of guys. This past season, their only free agent acquisition bat coming in was Whit Merrifield. Well, he didn't do squat for this team. And your pitcher that you brought in was Charlie Sheen. was Carlos. Oh my God, I don't know his real name. Carlos Estevez. By the way, that is Charlie Sheen's real name is Carlos Estevez. So that's all we have. So I would love to get Juan Soto here, and if we could bring him in, bring him in. And maybe that's something Middleton wants to do. Bring him in, but getting an Austin Hayes type at the trade deadline. These type of guys, they don't do anything for you. He didn't do anything for you last year. Granted, he was hurt. We got to do better than that, guys. So maybe they got to shake things up. Maybe that means trading an Alec Bohm for a bullpen piece. And then you go after like an Alex Bregman, because I don't think they're going to get Soto. Juan Soto is going to demand like $600 million. I don't see how the Phillies can do that. Think about all the money they got shelled, $300+ million in the guys right now. Bryce Harper, another 7 years. Trey Turner, another, 9 years, 8 years? You got a lot of money there. So I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they trade Bohm, and then you go get Bregman. I'd be cool with that. If you could trade Alec Bohm, let's just say to the Milwaukee Brewers for Devin Williams or a type like that, I'm all for it. I say do it. But I don't know if it's going to happen. And remember, you still got Taijuan Walker coming back in his 2 years. His 2 years, making $18 million a year. And he's going to get first crack in that rotation as the fifth starter. But you think any signs of trouble, he's getting pulled. And you got Nick Castellanos coming back. He's got 2 years left. You could say Nick's been one of the best players for the Phillies this year. I don't want to see him go, but if you can make the right move, you do it. You make those moves. All right. So that's it for me and the wraparound. Appreciate everybody checking in today. Make sure you throw up those likes, share, and subscribe. I'll be with you next Monday at 7 o'clock. I don't know if we're going to have, a lot of fireworks like we did this past week, but a lot of players fighting with fans, fighting with journalists, ex-players. I don't know. Craziness. But I appreciate everybody checking in. We'll talk to you next time. Make sure you check out Clarity tomorrow. I'll be hosting that show right here on It's a Wrap. Check it out. All right, guys. Talk to you all next time. Take care, everyone. Peace.
I'll be coming up hot for a minute. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. I drop the top when I'm in it. Everybody know the drop when I'm in it. Yeah, I feel so pure. Everybody know I'm you know when they click through to the business and it's about to be a so big blind.